But if you watch my channel in the last year, year and a half, I haven't really been recruiting and I haven't been training. And I really haven't been making videos too much because I don't want to come across as somebody who's dark and dreary and just, blaming everybody and everything. And, as a company driver, I don't personally feel wanted anymore. I really haven't been happy for over a year. And I was hoping that it was going to be like growing pains of people who, were just newly placed in high up positions. It is, I don't know what Prime's going to do from one week to the next. Hi, guys, and welcome to Trucking Along with Kirsty. That's me, your positive voice in trucking. And it's been a little while, and I have some major news, and it's not clickbait. I have left Prime Inc. I turned in my truck today. It's been almost 10 years. I had originally intended on staying at Prime my entire trucking career. I moved to Springfield a few years ago with the intent to go in-house, and that's just not in the cards for me anymore. Over the years, people have said to me, it's just a starter company. You can make more money other places. You don't know what's out there that's so great. And people would tell me, oh, you're drinking the Kool-Aid, or oh, you're just doing it for recruiting. And the truth was that the Kool-Aid was sweet. It was really sweet. And I made a lot of money. A lot of money. Okay. I've never hidden the fact that I made a lot of money from the recruiting, but I believed in what I was doing. Prime sort of put me in a little bit of a position where I could help people. And I love that. It was awesome. I could help people. I could help students. I could help drivers that were new. I was able to, if there was a problem between a trainer and a student, I was able to go send a message to, somebody, the powers that be in management, and things would get taken care of. Prime has had several key positions have been opened and replaced due to people's retirements because here at Prime, people have a tendency to stay for decades. And even the drivers all stayed for decades. But the past year and a half to 2 years, Prime has really changed. It's not the company that I worked for so many years. Despite drivers trying to get that through to management, management keeps reiterating to us that Prime hasn't changed, that the policies haven't changed. But you feel it in the air when you walk into the building. You feel it when you're watching, the safety meeting on YouTube every week. As a company driver, I don't personally feel wanted anymore. Prime is almost mostly it's mostly independent contractors, and it just feels like company drivers are an afterthought. We're not thought of, until the end of the year when open enrollment. Thank you. And it just, this year was the first year at the Christmas party where tables of experienced drivers sat around, people that have been here for 10, 15, 20 years, sat around eating the steak and the crab legs and the lobster at Prime Throne Christmas party. And the main point of discussion was, what company are you going to go to next? That's sad. I used to come home when I was on the backing pad. I would come home at night. I would say, wow, this is the best job in the world. I have the best job. I get to help people. I get to fix problems. I get to help people get their CDLs, and, they get to bail themselves out of debt, like what happened with me. But it was also a lot of freedom that we had at Prime. And that's, I used to get people that would say to me, well, you're micromanaged. And I didn't feel micromanaged because my thing was just drive well. Critical events was speeding, which the only way you can speed in a Prime truck is go downhill too fast. Taking turns, like curves, too fast. Following distance, hard braking. If you're a good driver, you don't get those types of situations. So even that didn't feel micromanaged. But now, to me, it seems like instead of putting more emphasis on training, they are putting more emphasis on reactions. And I think they've always been a reactionary company instead of a proactive company.
The more you tighten your grip, Tuck, the more star systems will slip through your fingers.
They've always been bad at communications. I've said that over the years. But when I felt like I could help with that communication and I could share with other YouTubers and we could put out changes or information that drivers needed, it made me feel good. I felt empowered, if you will. And now I don't feel that way anymore. And part of it is I don't know what Prime's going to do from one week to the next. People will call me up and say, "Well, will Prime do this? Will Prime do that?" I don't know. Last summer, somebody was about to upgrade flatbed and he was told he couldn't upgrade to go solo. He had to go teaming, and he wasn't told that before he came in. And when he told that to me, I went and found out from the flatbed fleet managers at the time that they were going to enforce teaming after a certain date, but it wasn't communicated properly. So students were like about to upgrade and they were all up in arms. They didn't know what was true and what wasn't. Then a fleet manager will put out a message that says, "Hey, everybody has to team because we don't have any trucks." And you're going to, and then a couple weeks later it's, "Oh no, that wasn't the case. That was only for a couple weeks." Well, then say that. It's just really lousy communication that really could have been taken care of really easily. Prime has an astronomical number of drivers who are on YouTube, on social media. They could have utilized us like a press conference. We're always hurting for content. So if there's a change coming about, and you want us to recruit, which by the way, I've made a lot of money in recruiting, but if you watch my channel in the last year and a half, I haven't really been recruiting and I haven't been training. And I really haven't been making videos too much because I don't want to come across as somebody who's dark and dreary and just, blaming everybody and everything. And, I had something that I was looking into medically. I was going to get an operation, and so it kind of was up in the air while I got insurance approval and all that stuff. And then it turned out that I'm not getting the operation anymore. So it was like if I would have had that settled last year, probably would have left a lot sooner. Prime has some real issues right now. If you have a million-mile driver like me, who is one of the rah rah cheerleaders, and I was a rah rah cheerleader for good reasons, and I am going to leave for good reasons. I will be going to a company that requires 2 years experience, so it's no longer training. It's 70-mile-per-hour trucks. The cents per mile, being somebody that's been here for 10 years, I am at a really high cent per mile compared to a lot of new people. So, I will be taking a cent per mile pay cut. However, I'll get free health insurance. And they also pay door to door miles rather than zip code to zip code, because that's another issue that's been going on at Prime. It seems like we're driving further and further and getting paid for less miles. Now, when I first started, it used to seem like it was about an 8% difference. Now it seems it's more like a 10% difference. And it's just like when you add all that up, it's like, come on, you know? And about the cameras, I was really outspoken about the cameras. I didn't like them. I was willing to give them a try because I am not a reactionary kind of person. Let me wait and see how this plays out. I want evidence and proof. I'm not just going to like emotionally react the way a lot of people do. And so I didn't. And I took the camera. I was one of the first 200 people to have the camera because I wanted to see what it was going to do. And I still was believing at that time that Prime wanted feedback on these cameras. Well, this is my personal opinion. Warning, my personal opinion. I don't really feel like they wanted feedback on anything. I thought that they needed help adjusting the cameras so that they would be less aggravating. I thought, and there were some things that they tweaked. so they don't trip as much as they did before. But then somewhere along the line, a driver must have done something wrong. And so now all of a sudden, different infractions, I guess is the word, different infractions were popping up that didn't pop up before. And I just felt like, wow, this is like changing so much from week to week. We don't even know. And it wasn't necessarily something that happened to me, but like you'd be on the phone with somebody and then they'd be like, darn, I just got this video that says improper parking and an arrest area. So the micromanaging was coming more and more. We were always required to call the fleet manager before you picked up a produce or a meat load. And it was basically to tell you to wash the trailer, fuel the reefer, make sure your settings were right, check your bills, basically do your job. And that goes back to where I said better training, and they wouldn't have to do that. And experienced drivers like me, we really rarely ever did. I haven't called him in years. I called the fleet manager for something like that when I had students on the truck because I'd make them do it because I wanted them to be trained. I needed them to know what to do. But then it turned into you get to the customer and you have to send a macro. Then you're getting unloaded and you have to send a macro. Then you had a call and you had to verify your bills. Well, within the last, I don't know, 6 months to a year, all of a sudden it's after you have to scan in the bills before you call, and if you have a claim and there's product left on the truck or something, when you leave the receiver, you have to scan in the bills and call. And, it's just, ugh, just let me drive. Just let me drive. So the company I am going to doesn't give you a fuel route, doesn't give you a fuel stop, doesn't, they don't even have a GPS on the truck. They don't have right way gauges. There's no handheld holding here. It's going to be here's your load, go deliver it. Like I said before, I didn't feel micromanaged with certain things up until about probably a year and a half, 2 years ago, because it was just a matter of just be a good driver, just do your job. And now it's like, it seems like everybody has to do steps because certain people ruined it, I guess. I don't know. On top of that, I was flat out told by somebody in management that 85% of the PSDs slash CDL students have been trained by company drivers, and that Prime wanted to reverse that and make it 85% of lease ops, aka independent contractors. That's not really a way that's going to make me feel welcome. You know, there's a lot more I could say, but I'm just not going to get into it. I got a million miles. I made a lot of money. I made a lot of friends. I thought I was going to be here prime for life, and it's not true anymore. I surrendered the truck today. So if you see me out on the road, though, make sure you stop and say hi and comment down below. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start when I come home. I want to try to get with drivers from other companies. I want to do like company interviews, company reviews, because I think that drivers really want to hear from other drivers about companies. They don't want to hear from recruiters. But if I can put you into contact with people from other companies and they're willing to talk to you on the phone, they're willing to submit pay stubs to you and explain the process of how that company is run, I think that we as a trucking industry and drivers, we can help each other. And that's really one of the things that I've loved about trucking so much over these years is, drivers helping drivers. You know, be one of those people that jumps out of the truck and helps somebody back up when you see they're struggling. You know they're new. Don't act like you don't know. If you see somebody at the truck stop that they don't have a shower credit and you have extra, give them a shower credit. Welcome to trucking. Let's spread some more good cheer. And like I said, that's why I didn't really want to. I really haven't been happy for over a year, and I was hoping that it was going to be like growing pains of people who were just newly placed in high up positions, just how to get their stride, get their rhythm going. But to be honest with you, even if that's the case, I don't have time to sit around wait for that to happen. No. Would I tell people to go to Prime? Probably tell them go there, get your CDL, and if you're not happy, come call me because I'm probably going to have a list of drivers at other companies that could recommend something that's good for you. And you're probably going to ask me, well, what will Prime do about my contract? I don't know. Don't know. So I really hope that you guys, stick with me. I've had a lot of fun interacting with all of you over the years. And comment down below and tell me what company you're at. And would you be interested in coming on and doing an interview with me and possibly get you some referrals at your trucking company? So thank you so much. And I hope to see you out here trucking along. I'll just be in a different truck. Bye.